get.
So we're gonna have to do something a little different, but I'll talk you through it this time
Okay.
because I don't think there's much to be discussed about who the MVP is, even though he didn't play for the last 12 minutes of that game.
No, there's not. There's not. No, I can't even put up an argument to make play devil's advocate today.
No, no shot.
Nope.
All right, looks like we are live. Let's make sure this is muted. All right. I'm gonna put the call out and then we'll start recording. Looks like we are live. All right, the call is out. The screen share will be ready with the Ferguson stat sheet. And here we go. All right, everyone. Auburn is once again coming off a huge win. We just beat the Buckeyes of Ohio State in the Atlanta Holiday Hoops Giving Challenge, 91-53, a 38-point win. I'm here with Will McLaughlin, Shooty Hoops Will on x/twitter.com. Will, what can you say about this game, man?
Just another day of whooping up on another Q1 opponent,
I
Uh
mean, this time
didn't
last year, we hadn't even won, I think, our first quad one game. And now we just won a quad one game by almost 40 points.
and just won our fifth quad one game of the year, and it's December 14th. Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty amazing. Now we may have beat them so bad they're not a Q1 win after that, but you never.
Well, Matt pointed out in our group chat today, Matt can't be with us here on the call, but Ohio State's going to have to fall 32 spots in the net for this to no longer count as a quad one game. So if Ohio State can figure some stuff up down the stretch, I like our chances of keeping this as a quad one game, but either way, solid quad two game. But I'll tell you who had a quad one performance tonight. Our big man, number 4, Janai Broom, once again making history. Will, do you want to talk through his stat line tonight?
21 points,
Who?
20 rebounds,
Who?
6 assists,
Who?
3 blocks, and I don't think he played the last 11 or 12 minutes of that game.
Yeah, according to Justin Ferguson, Janai Broom sat the last 11 minutes and 44 seconds of this game. Just absolutely bonkers the level of efficiency that he was playing with. I'm about to pull that stat sheet up on the screen. So, Will, you've been on the pod before. You're still our undefeated host. You know we like to start off with the MVP discussion, but is there any discussion to be had today?
Last time I was on here, I tried to play devil's advocate with Chad Baker Mazzara, but no, there's no debate today. It's deny Broom. Like he set the tone early. In games, he sometimes it's kind of important how his first 3-point attempt goes, and it was nothing but net today, and really set the tone for how today was going to go. When he makes his first three, it's going to be a long afternoon for the opponent, and it certainly was today. And then there's this other stat. This is the first time in Auburn basketball share this. It's the first 2020 game from an Auburn player since 1989, and that's to me is absolutely remarkable.
That is top level basketball. We are once again witnessing this team make history. And Will, you're right. Janai Broom had our first points of the game, and our first points of the game are his 3-pointer. He's gone 2 games without making one. So it was really great to see that go in. But his aggressiveness on the glass, we knew coming in, Ohio State was giving up some size to us. So this is a completely different matchup than what we had seen in Durham with our last quality opponent. But it started early, it started often. I think we finished doubling them up in rebounds today. I'm going to read out the totals here. We finished with 49 total rebounds to their 28. So not quite. They got a little bit going there in the second half, but our points off turnovers 11, our defensive rebounds 6. No, defensive rebounds 33-23 and our offensive rebounds 16-5. I mean, that is a crazy amount of second chance points.
Yeah, and Ohio State, they didn't have their big man, big time transfer, Aaron Bradshaw, who came from Kentucky. He didn't play in this game. They're still ramping him back up. So don't know how different it may have been if he was been available today, but Definitely Ohio State's front line was definitely undermanned, and Janai certainly took advantage early of it, and made this a laugher from the start.
So listen, we know Janai Broom is our hero. Janai Broom is our best player. In so many ways, Janai Broom is our Dark Knight. Dread it, run from it. He's coming all the same. So who was Robin to Janai Broom's Batman today?
Well, man, that. There's two people that come to mind for me. His front court mate, Dylan Carwell, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks. He was 2 rebounds from his first career double double. He was really close. I had to go look it up. His career high in rebounds is which was 10. He's got a 8.10 rebound game in his career, but I was really hoping he'd get that double double. But just him and Janai, it's one of the best front courts in America. And the other guy I'll go with is Denver Jones. 14 points. He was 4 or 5 from three. He had 4 3-pointers in the first half. For a guy that doesn't really care too much about going for 20 points anymore. He just wants to win. The guy's a winner and he's a bucket maker too. And
And
he
he's not
did
just
play.
that, he's oh go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like he didn't play. He didn't have his. He didn't play well up at Cameron last week. He had a good donut, but a good bounce back for him today. I mean, there's so many other guys that had spurts of really good games. But I'll tell you this: imagine if Auburn hadn't gone 641 in the first half without scoring a point. How uglier this could have been. Like Auburn could have easily put up 110 today with the way
we
they.
did get we did get into some interesting foul trouble early on that forced some odd rotations. We'll definitely be talking about that when we get into player breakdown. But we would be remiss if we did not talk about Denver Jones's defense today. Denver Jones was running those guards off the 3 point line, fighting through screens, playing aggressive without fouling, which was the key. We had Miles Kelly and Todd Pettiford once again getting into a little bit of foul trouble, but Ohio State only hit 1 3-pointer in the first half, and they finished the day 6 of 16, 37%. Not terrible from three, but a lot of that was hitting garbage time.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think Jay Williams kind of hit it on the broadcast. He was talking about how, Auburn does such a great job of running teams off 3 point line. He was talking about how going to the Memphis game that they had averaged 22 threes coming in, and I think the Memphis only took 9. I don't remember the exact number Ohio State was averaging coming in, but of that 16 that Ohio State ended with I would say probably close to half of that number was toward the end of the game in the last 4 or 5 minutes. So once again, Auburn forcing teams to take it inside, and when you take it inside against this Auburn team, you've got Dylan Carwell and Janai Broom there to block shots like they did, like they always do. So it's just it's a tough matchup no matter what you try to do if you're a team playing Auburn.
Yeah, and speaking of 3 point shooting, the thing that we've been begging Bruce to surround Janai Broom with for years, Denver Jones tonight, 4 of 5 from behind the arc. Miles Kelly, 2 of 6. Not great, but respectable numbers, especially considering those big shots they hit early to stretch the lead. And then Tahad Pettiford, the 5-star freshman, continues to astound in big time matchups. 3 of 4 from behind the arc. He finished with 9 total points and 5 assists, just a little bit behind Janai, our center for the team lead. So there's some pretty good candidates, but I'm with you. I'm feeling like Denver Jones was definitely the second most valuable player on this team today. What did you see from Chad Baker Mazara? He had kind of an interesting game up and down.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, it wasn't definitely his best performance, but I mean, him and this whole Auburn team really did a great job on Ohio State and their defense. I think the biggest thing coming in from a defensive perspective was, how were Auburn going to slow down Bruce Thornton and Michi Johnson, and I think Chad was a big part of helping, holding those guys down. They talked about Bruce Thornton being one of their best players. I think he's an Atlanta kid, and he literally had 3 points, made one 3-pointer with 5 minutes left in the game. Michi Johnson had 5 points. So to hold those two guys to a combined 8 points is an astounding accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, we've got to continue to work on defending without fouling, especially in these games where we know that Auburn is the bigger team. It seems the refs want to play us with a tighter whistle. Chad Baker tonight finished with 8 points and 4 rebounds. He didn't have a great shooting night. He was 2 of 7 from the field and did not hit a 3 pointer, but hit all 4 of his 3 point attempts. And going into this game, Chad Baker Mazara was one of only 4 players in the entire country, averaging 50% from the floor, 40% from three, and 90% from the free throw lines. He continues to be an incredible multi level scorer. And speaking of that three spot, we once again got to see number 3 in the program, number 1 in Jackson's heart. Ja'Kai Howard get some time on the floor, particularly late today. He finished with 11 points. What did you like from the freshman, Will?
He hit both of his 3-point attempts. And I think, too, Auburn was trying to get him the ball there late, trying to get his confidence up. Dylan was getting rebounds and kind of kicking it out to him. And, he was it's good to see another guy that we can depend on, and kind of as we work Jakai back into the rotation, it's just another weapon that Bruce has to come off the bench. He also hit all three of his free throw attempts. He got fouled on the 3-point attempt and made all three of his free throws as well. So there was some defensive, I would say, I don't want to say lapses, but there were some defensive moments that Jakai, he's got to get some more game, experience and work on. But I mean, offensively, liked what we saw from him, and certainly know he'll get better on the defensive end.
Oh yeah, definitely. We got to see a little bit more of Jaheim Hudson tonight. Nothing too crazy. Chris Moore was forced into a little bit more duty, I think, in the first half than we might have liked tonight. But again, didn't cost the team anything crazy. He finished with 3 rebounds, which we love, the hustle play, and a killer block. I mean,
Yes.
the block party was absolutely on. Jackson was loving it. We finished with 13 blocks as a team tonight, including Dylan Cardwell's monster four. We only had 4 steals, but those blocks were key in turning Ohio State over.
Yeah, so get this statistic. So at the end of the first half at halftime, Auburn had 7 blocks. Ohio State had 6 field goals. So Auburn had
Whew.
more block shots than field goals made in the first half today.
Incredible. You love to see a team with a length matchup just absolutely dominating. We finished the game 13 of 30 from behind the arc for a 43% 3-point shooting percentage. So continuing excellent numbers there. We were 45.8% from the field. We only had 19 assists on 33 made baskets, but a lot of that was due to guys just winning their one-on-one matchups. I mean, Janai Broom, once we started hitting those 3-pointers, it was just going to that left shoulder again and again and again. We also finished 12 of 14 from the free throw line, massively improved free throw shooting in a game where we didn't really get fouled that much, which was kind of odd.
Yeah, it was definitely at one point, I think it was 7-2 in the first half at one point where the fouls were, which really was the only way Ohio State was scoring was at the free throw line. So, uh, but in a game like this, it ended up really not mattering too much. But it's good for Auburn when they get to the free throw line that they're making their free throws.
Yeah, the last individual player that I would talk about is Chaney Johnson. He finally looked a little bit better down the stretch as the game was going on, but he continues to struggle with fouls early on.
Mhm.
He finished with 4 personal fouls tonight, but he also had 2 blocks, 2 assists, 4 rebounds, 5 points. So, quietly continuing to be fairly efficient. We just got to figure out a way to get him to cut back on these silly fouls.
Yeah, he's been struggling a little bit these last couple of games. It's definitely the foul trouble, and he's haven't been able to knock down 3-pointers here recently too. So I think getting his confidence, you're not going to getting him shooting threes and making threes again is going to be
Yeah.
his important thing.
I suppose on a night when Janai Broom sets history, we don't need to have everybody play their most efficient basketball.
You
We
know, you
finished
yeah.
we
Sorry.
finished with 17 assists on 33 made baskets, but Will, 5 turnovers. 5 turnovers from this team. How incredible is that in college basketball?
It's pretty remarkable for a team to go a game with just the 5 turnovers. And Tahad had two, Denver had two, and then Chicago had one. Those are only the turnovers of the game. But it's whenever you can get through a game with 5 or less turnovers, it's pretty darn impressive. And Auburn's had a few games where they've had a pretty low turnover number. Ohio State only had 8 turnovers, which that's looking at this stat sheet here, that surprises me. I thought they had more turnovers than that. So.
I think it was mostly just missed shots and defensive rebounds with how
Mhm.
aggressively Auburn was cleaning up the glass tonight. As a team on the season, we're only averaging 9.1 turnovers a game. We're keeping that number under the double digits. We're averaging 87 points a game. I mean, we're not just beating the barn doors off of teams. We're talking about going into Cameron Indoor and playing the number one Ken Palm defense and nearly putting 80 on them. I mean, this team seems pretty complete. Are you feeling like there are any weaknesses that you're noticing?
I mean, I think, gotta continue to get better at defending without fouling. Sometimes I don't want to say they get bored, but it's like there's these lulls in game stretches, and we saw that today with the Auburn going 641 without scoring a bucket. And it's probably partially related to when there's foul trouble, you bring in these weird rotations and guys that don't normally play together, playing together. There was a lineup out there. It was Tahad, JP, Jakai, Chris Moore, and Dylan Carwell. And I'm thinking, I don't think I've seen this lineup before. I don't know if we'll see it again. It wasn't great when it was in there, to be honest. But I think a lot of it's due to just kind of having to play different rotations. But I think just trying to avoid the shooting slumps is probably the one thing that I would say. But I mean, looking at this team right now, and they talked about on the broadcast, if Auburn continues to play this way and like this is not their ceiling. if they continue to rise up to the occasion, there's a solid chance this team finishes the season in San Antonio, which is obviously where we all want to be. So I mean, we got a long way to go. This schedule we got is a gauntlet. I mean, Auburn's done very well with it so far. But just looking at what we got coming up in SEC play, it's going to be quad one game after quad one game after quad one game. This league is just ridiculous from top to bottom.
I mean, we're going to have opportunities nonstop. We have an opportunity coming up in just a few short days on Tuesday, the 17th, against Georgia State, the Panthers of Georgia State. I don't expect this to be too crazy of a game. They played two SEC teams in Mississippi State and Kentucky and couldn't hold either of them to under 100 points. Once again, we're going to have a massive size matchup inside this front lineup of the Twin Towers, which has been so efficient and continues to dominate the start of our basketball games. It looks like this is going to be here to stay. I think this is probably going to be the way that we run out our first five throughout the rest of the year. It looks like the JP Pegues experiment might be over. I don't know that barring any fouls or injuries, we're going to see him get any kind of significant minutes. Jaheim Hudson and Chris Moore continue to just be rotating guys that come in whenever there's foul trouble to squeeze out a few minutes here or there. But I mean, top to bottom, this has got to be one of the most talented Auburn basketball teams I've ever watched.
Yeah, I think I would certainly agree with that. Obviously, you've got the Jabari and Walker Kessler team, but this team right now, there's just they can beat you in so many different ways, and it's so much fun to watch. It's really must see TV, and just there's not much else I can say to be honest. Just
Yeah,
it's
listen, sometimes we struggle to do good analysis on these absolute blowout wins because you want to try to talk about the intricacies of what we're doing. But Ryan pointed out in our group chat, we just kind of got out there and we're running some of our base offensive plays, and they could not stop any of it. We
no.
got pretty much everything that we wanted. We got Jay Lowry here in the chat saying the foul trouble was similar to the March Madness issues. The SEC just plays more physical than everyone else. I do want to see us continue to pare those numbers down, continue keeping the turnovers low, and just continue working this ball inside out. I mean, the fact that we have such a clear identity in our star Janai Broom, but we have shooters around him, guys like Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, and Tahad Pettiford that can hit from distance. It forces teams to defend the whole floor, and it opens up those one-on-one opportunities that Janai just wins again and again and again. And Will, with any luck, Auburn is going to be traveling through this exact same arena come March. The South Tournament bracket is happening in Atlanta this year. You think you might be able to make some games?
Uh, well, maybe I don't need to go because I haven't made it to a game yet this year. Maybe I need to stay away. But all kidding aside, I mean, I'll be going to some games later this year. Atlanta, I'd love to get to. I mean, I'd love to see this team in San Antonio. So, but
Oh, yeah.
that's the big game. We just never know with March Madness. But there's so many teams vying for that Atlanta region and play at State Farm Arena. It's always good to get a game, in buildings that will host NCAA tournaments, and so it's good to play there. We've played in Birmingham when we had the tournament there a couple of years ago. But I will say one thing: why do Big Ten teams continue to come play Auburn in Atlanta? Because this is the third time in 4 years they've done it, and this is the third time that we've seen Auburn just absolutely obliterate a Big Ten team. I don't understand why they do it, but hey, here we are. I just
Hey, listen, Ohio State didn't have the shame of Indiana getting 100 hung on them by Katie
that's
Johnson. So it could have
that's
been worse. We did
yep.
we did get some Presley Patterson minutes.
They held Auburn to 91 because that's the lowest number of points they've scored in those three games because Nebraska was 99-68 3 years ago. It was
That's right.
104-76 last year. So 91. Hey, good job, Buckeyes. You held us to 91. Congratulations.
Yeah, Ohio State, they started off shocking some folks, beating Texas at the beginning of the year. They've come back down to earth. We'll see if the wheels come off for this program. They are in a little bit of rebuild, but they've got some. Michi Johnson is a old savvy veteran. I think he just ran into a buzzsaw today. Will, we may have to keep coming you on, having you come on if you stay undefeated as a host. What do you think?
That sounds like a plan.
Will, thanks for joining us today, and we just have one question to end our chat. Will, are you still having fun?
Lots of fun.
Excellent. War Eagle, buddy.
War Eagle.
All right, another one in the books for
Oh,
undefeated William.
woohoo.
Well,
Awesome.
thanks for jumping in last minute, man. We're gonna be, I think, around the Purdue game. We're talking with War Rapport about doing some cross-cutting content and maybe joining them with the live stream. But if we can get you back on again before we get to conference play, that'd be pretty sweet.
Sounds good. Yeah, we're traveling next Saturday, so probably won't
Okay.
need to do anything with Purdue, but I'd love to be at the game, but we've got my dog and my wife. We're going to her parents for Christmas, so I'm
Oh,
probably
that'll
out
be
on
fun.
anything for Purdue, but it's all good. So
Well, hey, at least you'll be able to watch the game, right?
fingers crossed.
There you go.